morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio, and Pokemon Sword and Shield is out on Friday, and I finally have nice English scans of the Pokemon Sword and Shield cards, so it's probably time we counted down the top 20 cards from Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, I did do my top 10 of the Japanese set, but the English set has got the VMAX in, and it's got a bunch of promos, and it's not quite the same set, although there are a bunch of crossover cards. But we still need to have a good old gander. Now, the thing is, there's an awful lot of good cards in this set, and some did not make it. The ones that just missed out: BD, lovely supporter card that lets you attach an energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. It's nice and it sees playing a bunch of Japanese decks, but it's not quite enough to make it onto the list. Similarly, in DDV's got a really nice ability that heals 20 damage from your active Pokemon, as well as having a really nice attack that does 10 damage base plus 60 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, which means that it's going to add up fairly quickly. Good, didn't quite make it. I think the last cut was Galarian Berserker. Galarian Berserker's got an ability that lets your metal Pokemon do 20 more to the active. The thing is, that's not actually good in Sword and Shield. That'll be good in the next set when we get a new Galarian Meowth, which once during your turn lets you discard a couple of cards from your hand, and then search your deck for a Galarian Berserker and put it into your hand. That way you can still play an all-basic deck and search out the evolution. That's when that gets good. And the most difficult cut on the list was Centiskorch. I adore Centiskorch. 1 fire energy minimum, though we'd like a lot more. For each fire energy attached to this Pokemon, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. And you can go nuts with stuff like Welder, or maybe even go a bit silly with stuff like Electrode. Either way, this seems like a really fun Pokemon. It's one that I am going to be having a big play with, but the fact of the matter is, it's unproven, so I couldn't put it on the list. So in at number 20, the combination of Gossifleur and ELDEGOSS. Gossifleur for 1 colourless energy's got Call for Family. Search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench. It is the best Call for Family option we've got. You don't usually get 3, you usually get 1 or 2. Getting 3 is awesome. Then you evolve it into ELDEGOSS, and again for 1 colourless energy, search your deck for up to 3 grass energy cards, and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. We've seen the pair of these seeing play in grass and colourless decks over in Japan. We got a great Call for Family attack, and then we can accelerate some energy afterwards. It's very much on the lower end of the top 20, but I'm comfortable putting it in here. In at number 19, we've got Galarian OBSTAGOON. It's got an amazing ability, Untamed Shout. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Then you add in the Galarian Zigzagoon, that when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may put 1 damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then, of course, we got a really nice attack on Galarian OBSTAGOON, Obstruct, 2 energy, 90 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. You are blocking a lot. We're in a format absolutely chock full of Pokemon V and Tag Team Pokemon. Yeah, this is going to be phenomenal. Going back to the ability, it combos really nicely with Sableye, who does 10 damage plus 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active. And we might finally have found a use for Yveltal, the GX, that gets an instant KO on anything for 1 darkness energy, just so long as they've got 4 damage counters on. Or as I like to phrase it, 1 Galarian OBSTAGOON and 1 Galarian Zigzagoon. In at number 18, we've got LAPRAS VMAX, and I am already looking at this list and wondering how LAPRAS VMAX came in at number 18. That doesn't seem fair. But I'm looking at the list, I cannot put it any higher. LAPRAS VMAX has got a really nice attack for minimum 3 colourless energy that does 90 damage base plus 30 more for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. Loads of water Pokemon have got the X amount of energy plus Y for each water energy attached to it. This is pretty much the best one we've got. Plus, it's a VMAX Pokemon, so you've got a rather gigantic 320 HP. And don't sleep on regular Lapras V. 4 energy, 210. Put 2 water energy attached to this Pokemon into your hand. And I'm sure those of you that know the set will know we're attaching energy with Frosmoth. Yeah, that's coming a bit higher up on the list. And that means that putting energy back into your hand really isn't an issue, because you can just attach them again using Frosmoth. And if Lapras goes down, you're going to be better off having the energy in your hand than attached to the Lapras anyway. This is a big, powerful water Pokemon that you should expect to see cropping up all over the place. In at number 17, we've got SNORLAX VMAX. Again, this feels low. Argue in the comment section. Tell me where it should go. I can't put it any higher. SNORLAX VMAX for free colourless energy has got G-Max full. 60 damage base plus 30 more for each of your bench Pokemon, which basically means for free energy you should be doing 210 damage. But bearing in mind we've got triple acceleration energy that will pay that attack in one go. Or we've got Welder. Welder 2 energy on, and then attach a third for the turn and you're off. What I've seen some people doing because of stuff like Welder is actually using Martial Arts Dojo with the odd fighting energy, so you're not actually doing 210, you're doing 220, or 250 if you're behind on prizes. You can use any energy acceleration you like here. I've not seen it doing well with Malamar, but that's no reason to say it couldn't. I have seen it do well with Arceus and Alga and Palkia, and Welder, and triple acceleration energy. You see where we're going with this. It is a great Pokemon. Not such a fan of SNORLAX V. It's not particularly great, but I love SNORLAX VMAX. And being a colourless Pokemon means you're going to be seeing it crop up all over the place. And that's before we mention that with 340 HP, it is quite literally the biggest Pokemon card we've ever seen. It's a bit ridiculous. Coming in at number 16, we've got TORKOAL V, a Pokemon for whom I've actually paused the video to raise it up during making the video. I can't raise it any higher. Maybe up to 15. 16 and 15 you could swap. We'll get there in a minute. 2 fire energy, 1 colourless, 90 damage, discard the top card of your deck. If it's a fire energy card, this attack does 90 more damage. And this is a classic Pokemon where without the help, this would be rubbish. But we've got Welder to attach 2 energy, so then we attach for the turn and we've paid it. And you've got Oranguru. An Oranguru, which again is coming in Sword and Shield, lets you swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. Which means if you've got a fire energy in hand, Oranguru puts it on the top of the deck. Then you get to draw a card, so you're guaranteeing you hit a fire energy while drawing one. That's pretty sweet. And then you're doing 180 for a Welder and an energy. If we didn't have Welder and Oranguru, I would hate this attack, but we do, so I don't. And a lot of people are sleeping on TORKOAL's second attack. I see a lot of discussion focused around the first attack, but the second one here is great. 4 energy, 120, discard 2 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. 2 energy. There are not that many decks around that can just casually lose 2 energy without worrying. Yes, of course, you've got stuff like Welder that can reattach them, but you're still undoing a Welder. There's not that many times you can just get around with losing a Welder and not even worrying about it. It's an awful lot of fun. Coming in at number 15, we've got TAPU KOKO V. And this is where it becomes really hard to make a numbered list. I do feel good that the top 20 are the top 20. Usually there's 1 or 2 that I want on the list. I told you I left off Galarian Berserker, but I feel okay with that. TAPU KOKO V is phenomenal in Lightning decks, but you're talking a one-off tech in Lightning decks. TORKOAL V is its own deck. But I think TAPU KOKO is better, and I think at some point TORKOAL won't be great as a deck anymore, but TAPU KOKO will still be popping up in a bunch of decks. The free retreat is awesome, the 1 energy, 20 damage, draw 2 cards is awesome, and the 2 lightning, 1 colourless, 200 damage is great. I mean, it's a lightning Pokemon, right? So first of all, electro power to do extra damage, but secondly, you've got the combination of Thunder Mountain Prism Star and TAPU KOKO Prism Star, so the Thunder Mountain reduces your attack cost by 1, TAPU KOKO pops an energy on, and then you can go second and hit 200 turn 1. And we've got loads of lightning Pokemon that have good attacks turn 1. We've got Pikachu and Zekrom. We've got Raichu and Alolan Raichu. We've got Zeraora. But none of them actually do as much damage as Tapu Koko does, and it's got free retreat and a good first attack. It is phenomenal. In at number 14, we've got Rillaboom. Rillaboom's got a rather ridiculous ability, Voltage Beat. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 grass energy and attach them to one of your Pokemon. It's Vikavolt. It is the new version of Vikavolt. But you know what? Vikavolt was great. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be great. Rayquaza was actually one of the most played, one of the best cards with Vikavolt, and I think that could and should be the same with Rillaboom as well. Or you can play it with Rowlet and Alolan Executor. Now the trick here is, firstly, they've got good attacks. Not phenomenal, but alright. 4 energy, 150, heal 30. Way better when you're accelerating energy with Rillaboom's ability. But you've also here got Super Growth. For 0 energy, you get to basically evolve a basic grass Pokemon on your bench to a stage 1 or even a stage 2 by searching your deck and finding them. I mean, awesome. Absolutely awesome. It's one of the reasons. I mean, stage 2s are way better in this format. I did a video about it. I'll try and remember to link it in the description. But even without that, Rowlet and Alolan Executor gets this rolling. And then any Pokemon using grass or colourless energy, you're golden. Could be Pheromosa and Buzzwole. Could be Venusaur and Snivy, which also has a really nice gusting effect built in. Attach a grass energy from your hand to it when it's in the active. Boom! Automatic gusting. Make no mistake about it, we might not even have the best partner for, and actually I don't think we do. I think the best partner for this is going to be Rillaboom V. That's a promo, it's not actually out yet. That's kind of my point here. This is so high on the list, not just for what it can do now, but for what it can do in the future. Coming in at number 13, we've got Cramorant V. Cramorant V's got a nice first attack. 1 colourless energy, search the deck for any 2 cards and put them in your hand. It's fine, it'll work. But 3 colourless energy, discard all energy from this Pokemon and do 160 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Yes, because Dedenne is still everywhere. And you can get the energy on there using Welder, or using Malamar, or accelerating energy in a water deck and using Quagsire, maybe Frosmoth, maybe Naganadel, doesn't really matter. The point is, we've got plenty of options for getting the energy on. A lot of decks nowadays can accelerate energy. ADP would be another example. And in any deck that can, you've got to be considering Cramorant V kinda seriously. In at number 12, we've got MORPEKOV. MORPEKOV is another one of these that is really its own deck, and I didn't give it enough hype when it first came out, and for that I can only apologise. For 1 colourless energy, 20 to the active, 20 to one of your opponent's bench, meh, no one really cares. But for 2 lightning, 1 colourless, 150, discard an energy, switch it with one of your bench. Yeah, it's a hit and run deck. Except hit and run decks were used to stuff like Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan rocks up with a whopping 30 damage. That's not very much. 150 is way better. And then you've got Lily's Pokédoll that you can pop into the active so that your opponent gets an attack but doesn't get a KO. And you've got the makings of a really good deck. Then we bring in MORPEKOV VMAX, and for the same energy cost, 180 to the active, 20 to all of your opponent's bench. And remember, we still got Electro Power. And we've still got the combination of Thunder Mountain Prism Star and Tapu Koko Prism Star. This is one of the best decks around. In at number 11, we've got Oranguru. Now, I've already mentioned it once. I mentioned it when we spoke about TORKOAL V. But it does absolutely bear talking about again. The attack is garbage. No one cares about the attack. But the ability, once during your turn, you may switch a card from your hand with the top card of your deck. It's really good with TORKOAL, where you need a fire energy on top. And it's really good with Zacian V's ability, where you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put them in your hand, but any metal energy you attach. So you use this to put a metal energy on top. Or you could use this with Magcargo GX, where you discard the top card of your deck, but if it's an energy, you attach it to one of your Pokemon. All these are great. but it also just draws a card. Like, we don't have a basic Pokemon that just draws a card. And this technically doesn't. You draw a card, but you got to put one on top. So take a card that either you don't need now, or even better, that you definitely need next turn, and put it down while picking up a card. It's awesome. In at number 10, we've got Metal Saucer. Metal Saucer is Aqua Patch, but for Metal Pokemon. Or Dark Patch, but for Metal Pokemon. And Dark Patch saw a huge amount of play. And Aqua Patch saw a huge amount of play. So there is absolutely no reason why Metal Saucer wouldn't see a huge amount of play. Though there really also does seem to be some confusion. Why is it Metal Saucer? Why is it not Metal Patch? Or Steel Patch or something like that. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, point is, in any metal deck, this is amazing. We all know by now that Zacian V is the best card in the set, or the best Pokemon at least. Maybe it's number 1 on this list, maybe it isn't. Keep watching to find out. But it's not just that. It is any metal deck from here until this rotates out. I am a huge fan of Copperajah from this set. 220 damage, as long as you've got less than 8 damage on you. Or 80 damage. 8 damage counters. But for free energy. Well, that's alright. Use this. Solgaleo Prism Star alone wouldn't be good enough for Copperajah. Using Metal Saucer in the early game and then dropping Solgaleo Prism Star in the mid game might actually make it work. And even if you don't buy Copperajah, it doesn't matter. Every metal deck is going to play these because they're great. In at number 9, and it is ridiculous that this is so low. I'm sorry, and I'm looking at the rest of the list and I can't change it. We've got Frosmoth. We've already kind of mentioned Frosmoth earlier when we had a bit of a chat about LAPRAS. Frosmoth lets you attach as much water energy from your hand to your benched water Pokemon as you like during your turn. It's not as good as some other similar abilities we've seen in the past. The Blastoise from Plasma Blast just let you attach as much water energy as you liked anywhere during your turn. The thing is, we've got Quagsire. So you put it on Quagsire, move it up to the active. So something like Cramorant that shouldn't be able to use Frosmoth can, as long as you've got a Quagsire on the bench. And this is kind of like Metal Patch, but way better. Every water deck is going to want to play this. Every water deck from now until this rotates out. I can't say they will play it. They might be single energy attackers. But if they need any real amount, they are definitely going to play it. And it's just great. You're going to see so much of this running around. It's going to be a little bit silly, but in a fun way. In at number 8, we've got CINCCINO, a card which is largely here on faith. It is not seeing as much play as I think it should be over in Japan, but I refuse to not put it in the top 10 because it's got Zoroark's ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a card from your hand to draw 2. In what way does that not sound amazing? It's actually also got a really nice attack, energy assist, 1 colourless energy, 40 damage, and you get to attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Which is nice, but it's mostly here for the ability. And I know we've got a bunch of stage 1s at the moment that can help us out. I know we've got Pidgeotto. I know that we've got Zebstrika. I just happen to think this is better than either of those. And both of those are confirmed to be great. It's a great option for pretty much any deck. In at number 7, the most boring pick in the top 10, it's Normal Rod. And I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry because it's called Ordinary Rod, but I'm also sorry because it's not a terribly exciting card. You shuffle up to 2 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck, and or 2 basic energy from your discard pile into your deck. You can get 2 energy, 2 Pokemon, 2 of each, 1 of each, 1 of 1, doesn't really matter. The point is, it's good Pokemon recovery, which we really needed, and it's good energy recovery as well. It's just a great card, and it's going to be a one-of in the majority of decks, and it's not very exciting, and it's not going to be a card that you're delighted to pull from every pack, but it is a card you're probably going to put in a whole bunch of different decks, and for that reason it's got to be this high in the video. In at number 6 for the first of 3 times in the top 6. I'm cheating. It's the Pokemon Tools, Balloon, Vitality Band, and Big Charm. Sorry. You see, the thing is, they're all really good Pokemon tools, and you're choosing between them, and I didn't know how to separate them out, and they're all seeing a lot of play, and together they're this great trio of cards seeing a huge amount of play, and individually they're 3 good cards that are seeing a fair bit of play here and there. So I've lumped them all together, I've put them in at number 6, feel free to tell me off in the comment section. Big Charm gives you an extra 30 HP, phenomenal for Pokemon that really just need to stay alive. No, it's not as good as buff padding, but most Pokemon can't use buff padding because you've got to have a retreat cost of 4. Balloon reduces your retreat cost by 2. So, okay, U-turn board bounces back to your hand when discarded, and a skateboard lets you retreat even if you're asleep or paralyzed. But Air Balloon, I really should start looking at the English translations of these names now I've got them. Air Balloon, not just Balloon, although come on, Balloon just sounds better. Reduces your retreat cost by 2, and that means it reduces your retreat cost more than the other cards. So it's pretty awesome. Also, why is a string going up into Balloon rather than tied around the bottom? That's not how balloons work. But it is a card that's going to be great for retreating. And then we've got Vitality Band. Lets you do an extra 10 damage. And it's not the best card we've ever seen. It pales in comparison to Choice Band, but we don't have Choice Band. It is literally just half of a Muscle Band. But we don't have Muscle Band. It only adds 10 damage, but it adds more damage than any other tool we've got, so yeah, that'll do, pig. That'll do. In at number 5, and as a side note, I do think we've got a proper top 5 here. I think the top 5 are the top 5 by a wide margin. I think there is a chasm between 5 and the rest of the list. It's Inteleon. Inteleon is phenomenal. Also, apologies to Cinderace, who didn't even make the list when the other 2 first partner Pokemon did. Sorry, Cinderace. You see, Inteleon's got a rather phenomenal ability, whereby when you evolve up into it, you get to search your deck for 2 trainer cards and put them into your hand. And it's actually made even better, because the Stage 1 DRIZZILE has got an ability whereby when you evolve up into it, you get to search your deck for 1 trainer card and put it into your hand. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It is making Stage 2 decks more viable. Because of Inteleon, I've seen multiple deck lists playing multiple Stage 2s. I'm playing Inteleon, yeah, but because I'm playing Inteleon, I can actually afford to play Swampert, because I'm probably going to get it out. But now that I'm playing Swampert, I'm drawing 3 cards a turn. It's CINCCINO's ability, but you get an extra card. So now I'm actually even more consistent. And now that I'm more consistent, I can play that Meganium so that I can evolve straight from a basic to a Stage 2 without using Rare Candy and without having to wait a turn to evolve. So now I'm even more consistent. And then I'm just popping a random 101 Rampardos into my deck with a single copy of Super Boost Energy. I have seen decks just playing DRIZZILE. I showed you a Whimsicott list recently that did that. I have seen decks playing Inteleon just as a tech, and I've seen Inteleon being central to decks. But the fact of the matter is, both DRIZZILE and Inteleon as a pair add a ridiculous amount of consistency to decks. And that is going to make decks viable that weren't viable before. They are a phenomenal pair of cards. In at number 4, we've got Aurora Energy, a card that I actually left off the list. And then I did my last little look before I started recording and went, where's Aurora Energy? Why is it not on the list? So Galarian Berserker got bumped off the list, not upset about that, and Aurora Energy got put straight in at number 4. You see, Aurora Energy, it's just Rainbow Energy. Except you don't have to take a damage counter in order to use it. You do have to discard a card from your hand, but you don't have to take a damage counter. Now, bearing in mind, I've put Vitality Band really high up on this list, and it only does an extra 10 damage, that should tell you what I think about taking the 10 damage from Rainbow Energy. We've seen Mewtwo and Mew decks since they came out playing Rainbow Energy, but now if you're being hit for weakness, instead of being hit for 140, you can now be hit for 130. Makes a huge difference. It's just huge. And we can now play 4 Aurora Energy and 4 Rainbow Energy in the same deck. So if you're just playing stuff like Porygon Z to attach special energy, or Guzma and Hala to search it out, you now no longer are stuck at playing 4 Rainbow Energy and then having to faff about with unit energy, because now you can actually just play this. It's kind of phenomenal, and it's already seeing a huge amount of play, and I see no reason why that would change at all moving forward. This is going to be a staple in a lot of decks from now into rotation, which you can say for all but the Pokemon in the top 4. In at number 3, the only Pokemon in the top 4, it's Zacian V. And I feel like there's not too much more to say about Zacian V. I did a video the other day showing you the metagame in Japan, and I explained how Zacian V is the most prevalent and the best deck. I did a video about the best new decks from Sword and Shield, and I showed you that Zacian V is the best new deck. We've talked about it a lot, but it's almost hard to overstate how good this is. It will instantly become, well, maybe the best deck, arguably the best 2 decks in the format. The ability we already mentioned when we talked about Oranguru. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, attach any metal energy to Zacian, and put them in your hand. So it's basically drawing 3 cards and accelerating energy at the same time, which seems a little bit overboard, frankly. And you then do 230 for free energy. Bearing in mind you've got the ability to accelerate energy, and bearing in mind you've got Metal Saucer, so you're really not going to be trying too hard to get the energy on there. It's going to be a fairly simple, straightforward thing. And you got 220 HP and only give up 2 prizes. It's just phenomenal. You can play it with ADP to accelerate energy, and then use a GX attack so you do more damage and take more prizes, or you can play it with Lucario and Melmetal as more of a tanky deck, and regardless of which one you're using, you can use Metal Frying Pan, so you take less damage and remove your weakness. Anytime you make a deck in the next few months, you're going to have to ask yourself the question, does it beat Zacian V? And if it doesn't, you might as well make a new deck, because you ain't winning with that one. In at number 2, Professor's Research and Marnie. These are just the 2 new staple supporter cards coming around in Sword and Shield. Professor Magnolia, or Professor's Research as it's actually called nowadays. The card is called Professor's Research, and everyone we get in the future will be called Professor's Research, though it'll have the little tagline Professor Magnolia or whoever at the end. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. And look, we knew that Juniper was amazing, we played it loads. We knew that Sycamore was amazing, we played it loads. We know that this is amazing, we're going to play it loads. Make no mistake about it, this is a card that is going to be coming around, possibly as a 4 of, in an awful lot of decks. But I also want to give a shout out to Marnie. Marnie's seeing a huge amount of play in Japan. Now, quick side note, Lily has weirdly rotated in Japan. They don't have Lily, so that does leave them searching for other supporters. So that is going to lead to an increase in play of Marnie, but that is not the only reason. It's basically Judge, except you draw 5 cards, your opponent draws 4, so it's less disruptive to you, and you shuffle your hand and put it on the bottom of your deck, not shuffle it in, so you cannot redraw the cards you put on the bottom, which won't always help, but will sometimes help out rather nicely. These are great supporters, we're going to see a lot of them. But in at number 1, it's Quick Ball and Evolution Incense. We have been crying out for Quick Ball and Evolution Incense. Quick Ball, discard a card from your hand, search for a basic. Evolution Incense, just search for an evolution Pokemon. We needed these. When the rotation hit, we lost Ultra Ball and a whole bunch of other Pokemon search, and our Pokemon search options have been garbage from rotation to now. If you're playing a Psychic deck, Mysterious Treasure. If you're playing a GX deck, Cherish Ball. Outside of that, not much. Pokemon communication? Yeah. Which has really restricted the amount of decks that we could play. There's a whole bunch of decks out there like Alolan Ninetales that I really wanted to play, but without adequate Pokemon search, it wasn't even worth considering. Now we do. And almost every single deck from now for the next 2 years is going to play 4 to 8 of these cards. Some are going to play 4 Quick Ball, 4 Evolution Incense, some are going to play 4 Quick Ball, etc., etc. But basically every deck is going to play these. There are going to be some aggressive decks that don't want to play Professor's Research. There are going to be a bunch of decks that don't feel the need to play Ordinary Rod. But there are going to be very, very few decks that don't play this. It is over the top phenomenal. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I wish we had a more exciting number 1, but I don't think there's any real argument. And I think putting Zacian any higher than number 3 would be disingenuous. Zacian is the 3rd best card in Sword and Shield. It's the best Pokemon, but Zacian is not going to impact the format like Professor Research or Quick Ball, and I cannot in good conscience put it above them. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my top 20, but I'd like to hear from you. What are the best cards in the set? What are you looking forward to playing with? Which ones have you already been testing? Go nuts in the comment section. But please remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are still pretty gosh darned awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.